This video is sponsored by Skillshare. Hello YouTube, it's Accurate again, yada yada yada. I made this EP, right? Weeks of Beats, dropped it on Spotify and everything about a week ago, maybe a little bit more. And I made this video on my process of uploading the tracks onto DistroKid to get them released and get it out there. But I think it's time to take one step back and milk this project for one last video to talk about or show the process of me making the beats on the live streams, as well as going over a little bit of my mixing and mastering process for this specific EP. So this video has two different parts, so to speak, where the first one is super cut down versions of each individual beat making sessions, 5 of them. Some of them were 4.5 hours long, and that's a little bit much to consume, so I took the liberty to download the videos and rearrange them into 2.5 minute clips per session. And for the second part of this, we are taking a look at one of the beats inside of Logic, where I did the arrangement and the mixing and the mastering. And I want to talk a little bit about that too. But again, first of all, let's watch 10 minutes of actual beat making on live streams, making 5 different tracks. That's gonna play, I think that's gonna play right. Welcome to the first episode, the second episode, the third episode, episode 4, the 5th and last episode of this 5 weeks of beats. The project is to make beats for 5 consecutive live streams, and it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be fun. MPC 1 today. I haven't prepared anything. Let's just hope for the best. I want you guys to help me out to pick out a sample. Someone said jazz, someone said folk. Oh, Bo Beats in the chat. Gotta grab that one. What's this though? There we are, and here are the samples. It's kind of a crazy sample though, isn't it? That's something. Super boom bappy snare. That's gonna have to do for now, so let's go back to track 1 with the sample. Oh, I forgot about my coffee. But it's not what I'm trying to do. No, I think we need this. Of course we need bass. Synth stabs or whatever. Yeah, gonna use that somehow. But no. Sounds like a track you would hear in a car. Maybe so. Don't stop. Don't stop. This was my first episode. Thanks a lot. Hope to see you guys in the next stream next Friday. Ha det gott. I'm open to do something slower or something faster because we're making an EP here. Everything can't be 92 BPM. It can be 92 BPM. You know, give me some input there and I'm gonna have some coffee. I'd like you to create some acid house. Yeah. In that case, you're on the wrong stream. I'm not gonna do that. Let's keep this as, you know, the plan B. But it definitely sounds like something that I would normally use. It feels a little bit mysterious and kind of cool. That could be used just like that. That works. Let's record that just to have something in the sequencer. You said 82. That's the tempo we agreed on. Plus 7. Almost. Sorry for thinking it was an F. Obviously a D. G minor. about this. You know, we gotta keep on struggling here. We gotta do something. I think this beat might be a bit too slow for me to scratch on. Had a lot of fun tonight. Thanks a lot for being here. Goodbye, my beloved Machine Plus. If you were here for the last week's episode, I found a sample that I liked a lot, and I chose not to go with it for that session because I wanted to do something a bit different. So my plan is just to use that sample. A really soulful track, you know? I'm the one. Let's keep that and let's duplicate the sample and get back to the start and look for slices the proper way. Stuff like that is what makes me excited about a sample, you know? Whew! Cool! That feels kind of good. Monitor.
Let's go.
Turntables. I'm the fucking boss.
That's what just happened. I am totally gonna hate myself tomorrow if I don't do anything at all about this crazy metaverb. It's way too much. Thanks a lot again. Bye. Today we're doing number 4. Okay? MPC Live. That one. Go into the sample edit page. Whew! Cool! So, the sample is here. Slice points. Let's pick a few.
When I'm alone, just a little.
We are on to something. So we have one that's a little bit snappier. You know, sometimes the smallest things makes the biggest difference. That's another one. Every beat needs to have a name, so if you have any idea, give it to me. Should the track be called Revenge or The Revenge? That's a name for at least for the project right now. This B minor chord really messes me up. That preset though. Cool, so some scratch. Signing out, good night, ha det gott. The final one, it's gonna be good. We are using the Complete Control S61 keyboard. I'm pretty sure I picked that one since before. So this is the sample. And people are coming into the stream. I appreciate that. The sample has a lot of potential. nice and simple to work in a DAW for change. So let's move the snare. An old Pringles pipe with some sort of paper on it. I mean, I'm not leaving the sample, I'm not leaving this idea, I'm just... That kind of works. Let's do some sort of melody here. But I think I need to sleep on this one and get back in the morning and listen to. Thanks a lot for being here. Thanks for all the support. Ha det gott. Yeah, and that's basically my process of beat making. The second part here has to do with getting all the audio tracks set up inside of Logic to adjust my arrangement, record some scratch parts, and adjusting the mixing before going into mastering. But before we are getting into any of that, first of all, a quick message from today's sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for creators. Explore new skills, deepen existing passions, and get lost in creativity. Skillshare has a bunch of different classes on all sorts of creative topics like music production, illustration, graphic design, marketing, and much more. Most of the classes are under 60 minutes long with short lessons to easily fit into any schedule. I've taken some classes from Skillshare. I've learned about audio music mixing from Young Guru in the class called Learn How to Mix Music with Young Guru. That's a really nice one. I've learned more about YouTubing from MKBHD, Marcus Brownlee. I've learned about productivity from Thomas Frank. I've taken a class on graphic design, and everything on the site is specifically curated for learning, meaning there are no ads and they're always launching new premium classes to make it easy to stay focused and follow wherever your creativity takes you. Discover what you can make with classes for every skill level, because whether you're a dabbler or a pro, a hobbyist or a master, you are a creative. The first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link in the description will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare so you can start exploring your creativity today. Thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring this video and for supporting my channel in that way. So let's dig into the first track of the EP and the first live stream I did. The track is called It's All Good, and it features a lot of different scratch samples from my subscribers on YouTube and followers on Instagram. They were kind enough to send me some stuff that I could use for the hook of this. That came out pretty cool. Sometimes I arrange my entire tracks inside of the MPC or machine or whatever I'm using at the moment, but in this specific case it just felt easier to make and prepare scenes or sequences inside of the sampler itself and then export the audio into Logic to have a better view of the entire thing. In this case, instead of exporting the audio files from the MPC itself, I just recorded to straight out just record everything that I had inside of the MPC in Logic. So I just prepared one single track, I let the sequencer run, and I just soloed the different elements one by one in 4-bar sections and then chopped it up on the computer. Just made more sense for this one. Not what I always do, but it worked. It took a little bit of time, but actually not that bad, and what I ended up with was this. My kicks, my snares, my hi-hats, my sample, and another track for the sample with an added delay on it, the bass line, an organ, and the pad. That's what I had on the MPC-1, and that's what I have here. I kind of wanted to finish these beats without changing them too much in the DAW because I wanted to stay true to what I actually did on the live stream, if that makes sense, but somewhat polished and finished, you know? So take this kick drum for instance, the first track straight out of the MPC-1, it sounds like that, and then I put this really nice Universal Audio Neve 1073 preamp / 3-band equalizer on it, and it sounds like so. Before, after. I basically took some of the high frequencies out and I boosted some of the mids and the lower frequencies. And I think it's a little bit punchier, a little bit deeper and lower. And I just think it sits better in the mix like that. And I put the same effect on the next track, on the snare. And here I did pretty much the opposite. I boosted some of the high frequencies and I took out the lower frequencies from about 100 Hertz. Before and after. It becomes crispier, harsher, a little bit more aggressive, and again, it fits better into the mix. The hi-hat is just what it was from the MPC, but on this track, on the sample, I did a lot of stuff. Let's start from the top here with the channel equalizer, which is the built-in EQ in Logic. And I know that this looks like the work of a crazy person, but I did this and it's kind of needed. This sample has a lot of material, a lot of stuff in the lower frequencies that I really couldn't work with if I wanted to leave space for the bass line and for the kick drum. So I took it from to sure, it became a lot thinner and not as exciting as cool, but in the mix, this just works a lot better. Again, for leaving space for the bass line and the kick, but also for getting the nice shimmer and the crispiness of the sample that I liked in this case. Next up, I have this solid bus compressor from Native Instruments, and I used to use this one a lot in my Machine MK3, so I'm really used to it, and I like how it works with sidechaining, and that's the purpose of this one. So this one is sidechained to the kick drum, so it ducks in volume whenever the kick drum hits, and I just like to be able to see the gain reduction that I get from the compression like that. It sounds like... And with the kick drum, it makes more sense like that. That's what it is. I like that a lot. And then just to make this sample sound even more vintage and warm, I actually ended up using two different effects for that. First, we have this Universal Audio Oxide tape thing, which is a tape emulation plugin. I'm just using one of the presets here that I liked for this. So that one together with this, the free Isotope vinyl plugin, that makes things crackly and dusty and adds saturation and a little bit of warmth and vintage sound. So without these two effects, it sounds like... And with them turned on, a bit strange, a bit weird, but together with everything, it really works in the mix. The next track here is also a sample track that has all the same plugins on it, but also this added tape echo delay effect from Universal Audio. Galaxy Tape Echo. This could be pretty much any delay, but I just like this one a lot. It adds a little bit of shimmer and a bounce and an end to the sample sometimes when I'm getting into parts of the track where the sample doesn't play anymore. So it rings out in a delay, and that's a nice little effect to have. So that one's on there too. So let's move on to the bass line here, which is just a bass instrument from the MPC-1 that sounded good straight out of the box, but I cut some of the high frequencies, I cut some of the low sub that is barely hearable, and I did this little bump here for some reason. I'm sure I have my reasons for that. But the big thing here is this one, Universal Audio Ampeg SVT VR. This is an amp simulation made for basses, I think, but also works on guitars. I didn't do much in terms of the settings on this one. I just left it as it was on this preset, but it takes my bass line from to so even though I really enjoy this subbiness that it had from the beginning, this just adds more depth and grittiness, and I don't know, it just makes a world of difference, and it sounds a lot better in the mix. It came out from the MPC sounding okay, and this takes it to the next step, at least in my book. Next up, I have this organ playing a few different chords basically stabs. And I just wanted to scoop out some of the low frequencies here too, again to make space for the bass and the kick. So that's that, and then we have this pad sound that's pretty much left as it was. Alright, and that's basically the entire beat. That's all the different elements that I got from the MPC-1, and they all sounded good from the beginning. I just wanted to do some of these tricks to lift some of the different tracks up to the next level, so to speak. And this is much more, at least for me, a case of getting the mix to glue together and sound like cohesive than to make the kick drum better, the snare drum better. I want these changes to apply to the overall mix and make everything a little bit better. The rest of the stuff that you see here in the project is just my scratch parts that I added from, again, the samples that you guys were kind enough to send me. So that's the hook with a few different effects and delays and stuff on it, but that's not much to talk about. What's really worth mentioning though is of course the stuff that I have going on my main stereo output here. I have this channel equalizer again that takes out a lot of the sub frequencies of the track because I had some issues with that for this beat, and it also adds a little bit of clarity in the 3000 Hertz range. So that affects everything that you hear, and it's actually needed for this one. It looks worse than it is, I think. Now, here I have another thing that's a little bit strange. This is a maximizer from Ozone. This is a part of the Ozone, the isotope mastering plugin basically. I'm adding this one in my mixing process as I go, just to get like a sense of the loudness that I'm trying to go for when I'm doing the mastering in the next step. So this one gets taken out before I bounce the track out as a WAV file and then do the mastering inside of Ozone 9. So this one is just there to give me a sense of volume and loudness as I go. And last but not least, at the end of the chain on my master output is this gain effect that just makes sure that my entire mix is set to mono. I am deaf on one ear completely, so my entire mixes are always in mono. This one just makes sure that it's in mono. So that's what it is. So let's talk about mastering for just a few minutes, because that's all I need for that, because I'm not a master at mastering. I make beats and I can handle these tools good enough to mix my music to the point where I like them. Mastering though is an art form in itself and a freaking science, and I'm not an expert on it, but I have my process of making sure that my music is up to par, at least. So when I'm happy with my mixing inside of Logic, I export my beats as high definition WAV files in a folder on the computer. Then I open up my Isotope Ozone 9 mastering suite and I just drag all the files into it. And this might not be the coolest or the most professional or the best way to go about mastering, but again, I'm not an expert and I don't claim to be. But Isotope Ozone 9 has this really cool functionality in the master assistant. So I actually use that as a starting point for everything. I pick my track, I go to the master assistant, and here I have just a few different values that I can adjust. What am I going for? I'm going for modern sound, I guess. Loudness and equalizer, manual, or reference. This could be really cool, but I normally don't use it. I just use the manual mode. I set the intensity to medium. Sometimes I try high as well just to see what happens, but medium normally just takes me somewhat in the ballpark to where I want the finished track to be. And I want it for streaming, not for CD. Then I just play a part of the track and I hit next. So let's hear this track going from what it was to what it could become, right? So that made a lot of difference, right? It went from sounding completely as it was to sounding somewhat mastered. And that's cool. And I'm not saying that this is the entire process that I go through, but I do this on all of the different tracks to make sure that they are kind of in the ballpark again. And then I, of course, go into the different settings and I adjust everything to the point where I'm really happy about the results and how the different tracks fits together. So that's basically my cheat code to use iZotope Ozone 9 and the Smart Assistant. Some sort of an AI functionality there, I think. Sometimes it goes a little bit crazy with the loudness and adds too much compression and the whole thing sounds like wobbly and unbalanced, but normally it gets you somewhat to the point where you want to be. And then you, of course, have to dig in there a little bit and adjust things up and down to make things match. But, you know, my experience with the iZotope Ozone, and this is not a sponsored video, by the way. I just gotta add that, I think. My experience of using this as my mastering suite is just that if I do a good job mixing my beats, I get a decent or even a good mastered version out on the other end of the software. If I do something bad in the mix, I still get a really crappy mastered version out of it. So it's not a cheat code like that. You still have to put in the work, you still have to make a good beat, pay attention to the production and the different frequency ranges and getting the mix just right, just to where you like it. Do this and then adjust it even more after the fact and then you're good to go. Maybe a dumbed down version of this, but again, this is not where I excel. This is something I do, but maybe not my favorite part of making beats at all, to be honest. I guess this is a pretty long video by now, so I'm gonna leave it at that, and thank you guys for watching this one and encourage you to watch my next video, checking out my merchandise and all the stuff on my website, accuratebeats.com. Until then, ha det gott!